Hi, everyone. My name's Janelle Riley. Thank you so much for joining us for this press conference with This Is Me Now, a love story. We're joined today from press all over the globe who have provided questions about this cinematic original, and I'm so pleased to welcome today's guests. Joining us, we have director Dave Meyers and producer and star Jennifer Lopez. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on a beautiful, personal, exciting work. Jennifer, this is unlike anything you've done before. Can you talk about how your album drove the idea for this original and why now is the right time to share such a vulnerable project with the world?
There wasn't kind of a time where I was like, oh, I'm going to do this at some point in my life. This was something that was really inspired by the music and a moment in life that I wanted to capture that seemed very kind of magical and even surreal at times that it was happening. And I went in the studio and I made this album. And when it was done, I thought to myself, there's more to this story. There's something bigger I want to do with this music. I just don't want to put out do the normal, put out a video and do this and do that and promo and blah, blah, blah. And it felt like there was a bigger message. And so I called Dave and we sat down and we talked about it. And I played him some of the music and I said, I want to do something. I don't know exactly what I want to do, which is kind of why I think we created something that hadn't really been done. Because it was like, didn't fit into any one, kind of like specific category. Not quite a film, not quite a video, but a story, nonetheless, something very original. And we sat there and we talked about it, and
You sang it too.
I sang it. I sang to Dave. I did all kinds of stuff. And then, Dave really kind of honed in on like, that's the story. What you just told me is what we should do. And we started putting it down on paper, trying to describe it to people. They didn't really quite get it. Then we had to put down a script for them to kind of understand it. We did that. And then we kind of went from there.
Yeah.
Well, she sang to you, Dave. You got a private Jennifer Lopez concert? Do you have any idea what that's worth?
I got a lot of private time that was the genesis of the film to me. I mean, like Jen said, she walked me through. I hadn't seen her in in an in-depth way in about 20 years. So she was explaining the journey that she's gone through personally, a lot of truth and a lot of personal stuff that was shared, a lot of passion in the music, and it was just sort of like, well, gosh, that's what I'd like to know more about. And she's sharing that with me. And is there a way to spin that into a piece that the world can explore with her? So that was sort of the beginnings, I guess. And yeah, no one understood it.
It's been about 20 years. I'm curious, how have you watched her grow and change as an artist over that time?
Well, I'm going to talk about you, Jen.
Yeah, how did you?
Jen's always been like the most dialed, professional, hardworking person even 20 years ago. But I think that what I got to experience this time around was a funny way of putting it. She's like Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi and no longer New Hope. So it's like there's a maturity, a courage in being vulnerable. I think that probably you could speak to that a little more specifically, but that's, and then it's been, it's just been a really rewarding, in-depth kind of, she's bolder, stronger, and more unapologetic about what she believes. So that's, I guess, what I'd say.
If she's Luke Skywalker, are you ObiWan?
I don't know. Ben's probably ObiWan. No, I guess I just meant the maturity in the Force. Like she's always was connected to the Force, always was a hard worker. But there's an owning of where she's at and who she is that I've got to bear witness to, and I think it's actually in the film. And so I think that's the difference. But she was always on time, let's go, ambitious and wanting the best. So that character is consistent and just reaching higher and bolder and yeah.
Okay, let's make you Yoda then. Ben can be Obi-Wan or Yoda.
Obi-Wan, Yoda,
Yeah.
all of the sage
Yes, age.
advisors,
Yes.
mentors, yeah.
So, Jennifer, viewers are likely to interpret much of the film as autobiographical, even though it is hyper stylized and fictionalized. For you, where did you draw the line between reality and fiction in terms of what you wanted to share?
You know, there's not a project that I've ever been involved with, music or movies or anything, that I didn't put a bunch of my life into and a lot of my personal experience. I think as an artist, that's all you really have to draw on, the experience that you have and the personal experience and the experience of other people around you that you've borne witness to. And I think with this one, I really wanted to, you know, it seemed like such an important moment in my life, kind of a turning point in my life, that and I was at a point in my life where as a person and as an artist, I could really look at all of the things that I was good at and the things that I felt and knew about myself and put them all into this project in a way. So things professionally, but also personally. And so, yes, there's parts of it that feel kind of very autobiographical, and then there's parts of it that are kind of meta. Not quite in a way, not exactly what happened, but also the feeling of that is what happened. You know, so there was different things about it that, you know, were super honest and true. And then there was things that were kind of more for license and kind of taking license and really doing what was best for the entertainment and storytelling of the film, I think. And that mix of it being personal, but also being able to be fantastical, surreal, magical, you know, is what I think made it really, or makes it really kind of moving, entertaining, and at the same time, super real.
And just to be clear, you were a construction worker at a heart factory.
Right. That part was true.
Metaphorically, it is true.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, it is true. That stemmed from her telling me the pain that she's been in, specifically the pain that she went through when she broke up with Ben the first time. There was a lot of honesty that she was shared in that first meeting, and so the Heart Factory became sort of a Titanic level meltdown, which was a metaphor for what she was giving me as far as her truth. So even the metaphor of sci-fi parts of the film stem from a scent of Jen's real story. Yeah, the truth.
I love that. I think that translates because I got very emotional, even though like it's a fun, you know, more upbeat number. There was something about it that like really spoke to me, even though it was metaphorical, which is what I think art does. Speaking of, we have a question about, were there certain musical films that inspired you or that you drew inspiration from when you were making this?
I mean, for me, every musical film that I've ever seen, you know, I'm a huge fan of musicals. My mom was a huge fan of musicals, and I grew up on them. And so between that and growing up as well in the 80s and 90s with MTV and all the epic music videos that were made at that time, and combining all of these experiences together, we were able to make something that I feel is like really fresh and new. But definitely, I mean, every musical. I think, you know, from Funny Girl to West Side Story to, you know, The Music Man to every Disney movie that I've seen that has music in it, Beauty and the Beast, everything. There was touches of all of those things in there, plus the acting that I do and the dramatic films that I grew up on. My mother was, again, a huge movie buff. And I just had and then there was, like I said, the music of the MTV generation that really inspired. Like I think these days you have a lot of videos that are made for like no money on an iPhone, and that's a different type of artistry. But when you grow up in the kind of it's like growing up in the golden age of music videos, right? The golden age of cinema, you know, there was a different kind of imagination and idea that I have about these things that I wasn't willing to let go of and try to make something even more kind of epic in a way. And David was the perfect partner in that because he's such a kind of visual genius. What he did on this film, from taking a lot of these scenes that were shot in green screen to where they wound up, was nothing short of miraculous. on the budget we had. I mean, because we had a sizable budget, but it wasn't the budget of a 50 or 60 million dollar film, which is, to
Yeah.
me, this kind of looks like that with the special effects that are that good in this. So
Yeah, and I think picking up from that, I mean, obviously Jen performs all that inspiration in the film from all the various musicals that have inspired her. For me, the sort of abstract storytelling technique was, I forgot if you'd seen it before we talked, but Pink Floyd, The Wall was sort of like the last sort of narrative. I mean, I guess Julie Taymor with Across the Universe, kinda, but there's very, very few films that take on music and emotion and storytelling. I mean, classic musicals still have a very strong narrative and whatnot. This one's a little bit more playful, and so yeah, that was put that on what she said, and you got what we got.
I'm so happy you mentioned The Music Man, because I would love to see you remake The Music Man, but you have to be Professor Harold Hill, not Marion.
yeah, me. Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, Dave is gonna be.
Oh, Dave, yeah, I'd love to see that too.
Exactly. No, I'd be up there in the front leading the band for sure.
Also, the Age of Aquarius was a big one you were talking
Oh,
about.
hair. We
Hair.
talked a lot about hair as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
And obviously Singing in the Rain, I think.
No, we've never seen that one.
Oh, okay. You should check it out. Yeah. I do want to touch on the choreography, because you have these epic numbers like in the Heart Factory, but then also these really gorgeous strip down moments like in the Love Addiction meeting. Can you talk about finding the right choreography for each song?
Yeah, I mean, those were all different. Every single one was treated as its own little film, right? In a way, even though it was all the same director and the same artist. But I felt like every song had its own personality. And so I went with, choreographers, and I used a few different choreographers in this film. Like, this person would be great for this. This person would be great for that. And Tessa was the perfect person to do Broken Like Me. I did want it to be in a kind of contemporary style, obviously because it's a ballad, but I had never danced that style before, and I was very nervous about it. And she was like, you can do this, you can do this. It's all about feeling and emotion and letting your body move from that. And she was great with me and choreographed this beautiful piece. I thought it was amazing and one of my favorite moments in the film.
There's a real melody, though, right? That Jen's showing off in the film, and that's a unique thing that's specific to her. And I think that's, so she is talking about how she curated that, but I think the aggregate walkaway is like, it's all these different styles. It's she's breaking her back on some of these dance moves and just killing it. So it's a sort of, I think the collection of like the crayon colors of her ability is the film sort of serves as that too, which in the music world is really important to like that the brand and the artist are sort of like the same. And in the movie world, there's emotion. So we sort of blended those two things.
We have a question. It's actually directed at Jennifer, but I'd love for both of you to answer. What was the most challenging part of bringing this project together, and what was the most surprising?
Everything was challenging about making this movie, from getting people to understand what we wanted to do, to getting it made, to doing it in the amount of time. People felt like, some of my fans who knew that it was coming were like, what's taking so long? But the kind of the computer graphics and everything that were done on green screen were done in a record amount of time. It was I mean, there was everything, kind of like the rehearsal period. We had a choreographer, and then the choreographer wound up and had to go do the Super Bowl, and so we had to replace this. There was just like so many challenging things. The writing of the script. Well, now we have to write a script.
Yeah.
It's like everything about it, every step of the way seemed to be a roadblock that we took as a challenge that turned into elevating it into something that we, didn't even realize it was being elevated into, I think.
Yeah, and I guess I would say that Jen's like just drive. It's almost like the more impossible it was, the more she's all for it.
Don't tell me I can't do something.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
It's just it's a very simple thing.
So there's a couple of very funny, not funny, very big markers along the way that, like there was a very, very sweet and mentor level conversation with Ben talking to both of us saying it couldn't be done in the way that we wanted to do it. And Jen just kind of looked at me and like, okay, we're gonna do it, And so like anytime, and I think when everybody passed on the film originally, she shopped around town with Ben and I was getting the update that, oh, this might be bleak for us. And Jen's like, fuck it, we're going to do it. And she's funded it herself. And so I just think that Jen's spirit of rising above anybody that says no is why she's here. It's why she is who she is. It's why she's just, yet again at the doorstep of something new. And so that was evident for me as a partner to her. It was always, my impossible was a little less than her impossible. I just had to make sure the green screens had good effects and that I could keep up with how fast she likes to work. So.
I have a lot of questions about your cast, and I don't know how specific you want to get into it or how much you want to reveal, but you have you're surrounded by all these great actors. I would think just coordinating schedules would be a nightmare, but what was it like to, show up on
Forgot
set?
about that challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was, yes. It was a challenge with the cameos that we have in the movie. We obviously had quite a few. Some came on the same day, some didn't. We had to make it work. We did whatever we could.
Most of them were shot separate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was actually probably the hardest scene to edit because we kept rewriting the script and
Right.
And a lot of them were personal friends of Jen's, and so there was a lot of like Jen had to switch out of performance mode and kind of come join me and kind of hold their hands and trying to, because they didn't understand what they were doing, and they were out there wearing funny costumes on a green screen.
Yeah, and they were like, "What am I doing?" And I was like, "Just trust me, it's gonna be fine. I would never make you look crazy, and if it looks crazy, we'll throw it in the garbage. Don't worry about it." But luckily it turned out well, and a lot of them have seen the film already and are so excited. And I mean, the reaction has been, with everything that we've been through, it's so kind of like satisfying to know that people love it.
And Jennifer, we have a question. How do you see this project fitting into your larger body of work? And how does it represent a new chapter or evolution in your artistic expression?
It's kind of me, and Ben kind of said this to me. I was like, I don't write, I don't do this. He was like, you do, you write, you direct, you produce, you do all the things, you choreograph, like you do all. Start stepping into that. Start owning that a little bit. Start owning a little bit of who you are. And again, we talk about a little bit about this in some of the behind the scenes footage that we have. And it was just how does it fit in? It ended a chapter and it started a new chapter for me. So it ended kind of this 20-year journey about a lot of questions that I had about love and being myself, a hopeless romantic, and what it means to really enter into a kind of healthier, more self-accepting phase for myself. Now, what will happen from that, I hope will be, and I know will be, even more wonderful things than what I have been so privileged to live up until this point. But again, what the movie shows is that has been struggles and there has been hard times that nobody knew about, that I kept to myself, and kind of gaining the confidence to be vulnerable and to admit certain things to the world, I think has only kind of made me more comfortable in my own skin and kind of empowered me in a way to step into this next phase of my life as an artist and as a human being, that will be a whole new chapter for me, of feeling more free to express myself in a lot of different and, kind of exciting ways.
Well, I can't wait, and please don't wait another 20 years to collaborate again.
I know. That will definitely not happen.
And I want to remind everyone that Amazon MGM Studios is going to release the cinematic original, This Is Me Now, a love story, exclusively on Prime Video globally, February 16th, 2024. Thank you so much for being here. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you guys, everybody who's out there right now. Thank you.